The Victorian Liberal Party's campaign has been an absolute train wreck, start to finish.
Toot.
I've thought about it a bit and I think this meme template probably best sums up their campaign. Let's start at the beginning. When the Liberal Party picked Matthew Guy as the person to lead them to the election, that was probably their first mistake. This guy has more baggage than an airport terminal. Since taking back the opposition leadership, it's been one disaster after another.
That's the truth.
You can probably say it started in September 2021, when one of his first acts as opposition leader was to make Tim Smith...
I'm an idiot.
Can't argue with that.
Yep, Tim Smith, the Shadow Attorney General. This, despite the fact that Tim Smith is neither a lawyer, nor is someone that's recognised for having a cool, calm head on his shoulders.
It's a load of crap!
Even at that point, you'd have been forgiven for questioning Guy's judgment.
Tim Smith's political career is in tatters tonight after crashing his car at almost triple the legal limit.
But then Tim Smith wrote off his Jag and his political career a little over a month later, proving those who'd questioned the wisdom of Guy only a month earlier, right. Unelectable. With the election in sight, and IBAC and the Ombudsman releasing the Operation Watts report, which made for some uncomfortable reading for the Labor Party, Matthew Guy must have thought all his Christmases had come at once. He went out hard, building up an integrity platform to campaign from.
Integrity in government means everything.
Transparency and integrity in government.
I value integrity in government and also in opposition. Integrity matters in government.
2 weeks later,
the Victorian Liberal Party is facing a police investigation after Matthew Guy's Chief of Staff was forced to quit over a secret payment scandal. It was laid out in an email trail that revealed plans to funnel more than $100,000 to the staffer's private business.
But then a few days later, Matthew Guy's Chief of Staff quit after it was revealed he'd asked a Liberal Party donor to pay various amounts of money to his private marketing company.
What's that smell?
Mitch Catlin had even hired lawyers to draw up a contract, which he'd sent to Matthew Guy asking him to forward on to the donor. The whole thing was enough for even Peter Credlin to have a moment of clarity.
The Chief of Staff had asked a donor to top up his salary. And what an idiot.
It didn't take long for the Victorian Electoral Commission to get involved.
Late last night, the Electoral Commission have commenced some preliminary work, and they've asked me for any documentation we have.
Unelectable. Then all of a sudden, Matthew Guy's office had a hard time holding on to staff.
I just can't understand why.
The party then rolled on to the Ditch Dan Donation Drive Day campaign. Say that 10 times fast.
Hi, I'm at the Liberal Party Ditch Dan fundraiser today.
Ditch Dan Day.
Today, anything you contribute, any donation you make to my campaign will be doubled.
Help today by going to ditchdanandrews.com.au.
This is when the Liberal Party ran a campaign begging for donations to help fund their election campaign. On the 25th of August, any donation they received on that day would be matched. It ended up raising over $500,000.
Can we get an iota of context?
Okay, so in Victoria, political donations above $1,080 must be disclosed by donors and recipients within 21 days, and are capped at $4,320 over 4 years for individuals and organisations.
So then what's the problem?
Well, there were some questions around the disclosure of approximately 28 donations, amounting to over $50,000. Which resulted in the Victorian Electoral Commission kicking off an inquiry.
The in-house lawyer for the Victorian Liberal Party has quit.
Remember how we said Guy's office was having trouble holding on to staff? Well, in October, the Victorian Liberal Party's in-house lawyer, Chandra Lloyd, resigned, but not before turning the torch on the Liberals' campaign leadership team.
Oh, wow.
So why did their top lawyer quit? Well, in her resignation email that became public, Lloyd stated that she had concerns regarding the operations of the Secretariat, some of which had resulted in regulatory investigations that may be considered criminal in nature.
That doesn't sound good.
The Age broke it down further, reporting that Lloyd sent a damning email saying she could no longer work with the party's campaign leadership team, who she accused of ignoring her legal advice that some of their decisions may have broken the law.
Michael, the Coalition cannot operate above the law.
Then, increasingly desperate, the Liberal Party began to cosy up even more with the cookers and extremists.
Very cosy.
I mean, the Victorian Liberals have a long track record of courting the cooker vote.
Let me tell you, we are standing with you, the opposition is standing with you every step of the way. We're fighting this in the lower house and the upper house. We're out here, we are backing you. I just want to say thank you to every single person who has come out here.
If you have any doubts, check this out.
Remember when we hit the streets to protest against Daniel Andrews' world record lockdowns? Remember when Andrews forced us to get the jab or lose our job? Now even our own unions are admitting he's a prick. Don't let him get away with it. Put Labor last.
Authorised by C. McQuestion, Liberal Melbourne.
Just who exactly do you think that ad was designed for? When it was revealed that neither of the VEC's investigations into either the Catlin affair or the Ditch Dan donation drama would be completed before the election, Matthew Guy started a run of press conferences that he'd probably much rather forget.
Why? I'm not going to go over all of that. You can make that analysis yourself. I'm not going to keep going over this over and over again.
It went from bad to worse when Matthew Guy and the Liberal Party appeared to declare war on the Victorian Electoral Commission.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Can we assume that you believe the VEC is being biased?
I think our concerns are in that statement, and they're very, very clear, and they're very, in my view, quite reasonable, and from what we've seen. And Sam's statement is the party's statement, and we totally agree with it.
Well, can I ask you a straight question then? Do you believe they are being biased?
I believe there are issues that we have raised that need to be addressed, and they are in that statement, and I believe those issues need to be addressed, full stop.
And does that include they are biased? It's straightforward.
Well, Nick, that's your words, not mine. That wasn't in the statement, so that word is not in the statement, is it? So therefore, with respect, that can be your interpretation of it, but I'm not going to use that word.
The Liberal Party statement was not chill.
All right, everyone, chill.
I mean, cease and desist stuff rarely is. You could really be forgiven for wondering if the Libs vet any of their candidates.
Your candidate for Mulgrave was at the Freedom Party event outside Daniel Andrews' office yesterday, calling for the state election to be postponed and for the state government to go into administration pending an independent inquiry given the election can no longer be deemed valid.
Right.
What do you think? What do you make of that?
Well, the election is valid, and the election is taking place, and I have full confidence in the VEC to manage that process and to count those votes fairly and accurately and reasonably. And I don't think anyone should have any doubt about that.
I mean, that's a fairly serious conspiracy.
Oh, well, I haven't spoken to him about that, Nick. So, well, I haven't really been made aware of Michael's. I don't think Michael actually, apart from being there, has necessarily turned up and endorsed the whole thing. So.
He turned up though, and he also.
You turn up to my presses. Yeah. Doesn't mean you endorse what I say, does it?
Oh, well, we're not turning up to your presses. We're turning up as journalists to report on what's happened.
Sure.
Michael hasn't turned up to the Freedom Party event to report on what's happened, though.
Well, that's something that is not on my mind about the validity of the election anyway. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Exhibit A involved the infiltration by ultra-conservative church groups, which has been well documented now. Even low-key Google search vetting could have identified that this one was problematic. And then Exhibit B, what?
Ugh, where do we even start?
Now, the Liberal Party either aren't vetting their candidates at all, or they are doing a very job of it. Or, left field theory, they actually want to occupy the lunatic fringe.
Breaking news.
This just in. David Davis.
It's clear I did the wrong thing on Saturday night.
The Shadow Treasurer was hammered, according to witnesses who told The Age a belligerent Davis needed to be escorted out by fellow MPs David Southwick and Richard Reardon after becoming inappropriately jolly.
Yep, that David Davis.
I'm not a teetotaler.
Yep, that David Davis. The Shadow Treasurer bumbled his way through a press conference after showing up hours late, where he was unable to provide costings for the Coalition's election promises.
Can I just ask how much the total is for your election spend? How much does it add up to?
I can't give you the top figure, but I can get that for you. Actually, add it all together in a moment. We haven't added it together in a single figure like that, but we can get that for you quite quickly.
Do you not know what it is?
Because there is a number of the points there that actually parts of things bring in government funding from other projects. So, for example, when we put in some of our projects, there is actually reprioritisation of parts of government. Yeah. Well, I can get that figure for you the final figure for you very easily.
We've been asking for that figure for weeks.
is it a bit?
Well, I'm not sure that anyone's actually asked me directly, but I will get that figure. I will certainly get that figure for you later this afternoon. I will get you a figure within an hour or two.
Good evening. With just 48 hours before polls close, the Coalition has been unable to say how much its election promises will cost Victoria. David Davis made the gaffe. Heidi Murphy with today's developments.
Asked for a total on their election spend.
How much does it add up to?
The man hoping to be the next Treasurer had no answer.
2 days out from polling day, it was not a good look, and did nothing to dissuade the opinion piece within the Age's election editorial. That was that the opposition was simply not ready to govern. It's pretty hard to argue with that. The Liberal Party's election campaign has been one that's given off the wretched stench of desperation and lack of integrity. Outside of the people that consume a heavy diet of Sky News and the Herald Sun, I just can't see how anyone could see them as a viable alternative government. If they'd been able to demonstrate anything remotely approaching competence, they'd have actually had a decent chance in Victoria. But in their current form, the Victorian Liberals are unelectable.